hydrological cycle. Rangelands are at the low end of the amount of rainfall that's received every year, roughly 5 to 10% of what a rainforest gets. As weather patterns move inland, mountain ranges squeeze the rain out of the clouds. Grasslands receive just enough to grow grass, but no trees. Further along this gradient, even less rain falls on scrubland and desert ecosystems. Since not much rain falls on rangelands, every bit that infiltrates and is stored in the soil is important. The ability of the soil to absorb is compromised. Much of the water will run along the surface, into a stream, and out of the rangeland. The average raindrop travels at 14 miles per hour. In healthy situations, rain is slowed by vegetation and often arrives at the soil surface gently, where it infiltrates into the aggregate core spaces. However, if the rain impacts the surface at full speed, it will compress these spaces and seal the surface.
So having a healthy water cycle is really important to having healthy rangeland ecosystems. Ideally, a healthy rangeland will capture water that's delivered to it as rainfall or snowmelt. It will store that water by infiltrating it into the soil, storing it in the soil profile as soil water, or storing it in deep or shallow water tables once it's been infiltrated. Some of that water will then be released over the course of the year to generate stream flow, such as we see in this stream flowing behind me. When you introduce domestic livestock, and particularly when you graze at a heavy level, you have the opportunity to degrade the water cycle within a rangeland ecosystem or watershed. The vegetation on the watershed is really important to maintaining the hydrologic cycle by protecting the soil surface from the erosive and compacting action of the raindrop and protecting those soil pores. The other thing that can happen with heavy livestock grazing is physical compaction of the soil, which reduces the pore space. This yields more runoff and less storage. The other thing that can happen from excessive livestock use is that you get a heavy use and degradation of a stream system so that the channel begins to erode, begins to straighten, and becomes more efficient at conducting water than perhaps in its natural state, where there might be more sinuosity and more vegetation to slow flow and allow it to infiltrate in the riparian area and be stored. The site that we have here is a site that's been heavily grazed. In this case, it's been heavily grazed by horses. And you can see evidence of erosion, a bit of downcutting in the stream, and you can see that this is an area that would transmit water very quickly through this reach. So we found in California, studying erosion and sedimentation on rangelands, that poorly designed and poorly maintained road systems are by and far the largest source of erosion and sedimentation in this landscape. A classic example is the gully that I'm standing in, which is caused by the runoff coming off of a ranch road behind me, where we have a culvert that's collected runoff that's been flowing through a ditch along this road for several hundred yards. The water comes out of the end of this culvert, much as it would out of the end of a fire hose, has a lot of capacity to erode soil and create a gully. So the soil that's gone from this site is now downstream in a creek someplace or in a reservoir.